Good morning. The secret of success is developing your willpower by setting yourself increasingly difficult goals and persevering until each of them has been achieved.
Good morning, friends, and welcome. Let's start our class off today with a prayer together. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, great masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswarji, beloved Master, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, we bow at thy feet. And we ask thy blessings on our satsang today. Be in our midst. We open ourselves for thy blessings, for thy light. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let's hear a song now, and then we'll hear from Swami Kriyanandaji on this topic of affirmations in life. And then we'll go ahead with the rest of our class. Welcome again.
Sing in the meadows and everywhere. Sing out a blessing to everyone. Lift up your voices, lift your hands on high. Sing and the battle is won.
Sing in the meadows and everywhere. Sing out a blessing to everyone. Lift up your voices, lift your hands on high. Sing and the battle is won.
Sing in the meadows and everywhere. Sing out a blessing to everyone. Lift up your voices, lift your hands on high. Sing and the battle is won.
Sing in the meadows and everywhere. Sing out a blessing to everyone. Lift up your voices, lift your hands on high. Sing and the battle is won.
Sing in the meadows and everywhere. Sing out a blessing to everyone. Lift up your voices, lift your hands on high. Sing and the battle is won. Sing in the meadows and everywhere. Sing out a blessing to everyone. Lift up your voices, lift your hands on high. Sing and the battle is won. Sing and the battle is won. Sing and the battle is won.
And so if you can, with affirmation, bring yourself to that point where all your energy is going in one direction and isn't paralyzed either with restlessness and other desires and things that siphon your energy off in other ways, or paralyzed with the thought that, well, this isn't me. All the spiritual path, in a sense, is convincing yourself that it is you. But you'll find that it only happens as you allow him to filter into the picture too. You can't do it on your own. People who do it on their own and don't introduce this new understanding constantly into the picture never understand. You can't, in other words, hypnotize somebody and tell him you're a saint and have him really be a saint. He may believe it, but it won't work. It's got to be the other side too, and the other side in the last analysis is everything. All we've really done, in a sense, is get ourselves out of the way so that that can happen. All we've really done is pull apart the curtains, draw apart the curtains so that the sunlight can come in. But we've got to do that much. The sun isn't going to burst its way through those curtains. You have to do that work. So affirmation and prayer, and knowing, you have to know God's will by attuning yourself to it, by listening, by being willing to do anything that God wants, and at the same time, put yourself behind whatever you do. Enthusiasm is one of the most important and wonderful qualities. And that's again where Master's teaching, the greater the will, or in this context, the willingness, or again, even further, the enthusiasm, because enthusiasm is just intense willingness. Willingness alone might be even considered a bit passive, but you, with enthusiasm, be willing in a positive, joyful, creative way, then you'll find that nothing can stop you. People, being usually low energy, are afraid to put out enthusiasm. They're afraid to be dynamic. They're afraid of the call on their energy exhausting them. But the truth of it is that when we put out energy, we draw on energy. If we put it out from a divine, in a divine consciousness, if we do it for God, with God, rather than, oh, I've got to do it, and you're fighting yourself all the way, you've really exhausted yourself just because you've fought yourself, not because you've done that work. But where is that willingness? And where that willingness or enthusiasm is in tune with the divine, then you'll find that there is just about nothing that you can't do. How are you to be enthusiastic? This is a question that many people ask. How am I to be enthusiastic about things that don't turn me on? The answer to that is that it isn't things that turn anybody on. It's people's ideas about things that turn them on. You change your idea about life and you'll find that just about anything can make you enthusiastic. Because it's your attitude and what you're putting out that does it. And so, well, there are some wonderful stories that Dale Carnegie wrote on the subject of enthusiasm. He talked about this one baseball player who was a famous player. His name was Pep Betker. I think that's his name. Am I right on that? Does anybody correct me?
Frank Betker.
Huh?
Yeah, Frank Betker.
Betker?
Betker.
Betker. And anyway, his nickname was Pep. But you'd never have known it when he started his career. He was a good ball player, and so he was in the major leagues, but he kept he was so low on energy and just never did anything with any kind of energy. Finally, they put him down in the minor leagues, and he was heading lower and lower, and until finally he decided that he instead of waiting for life to make him enthusiastic, he would just act as if he had enthusiasm. He didn't have it. He just said, I'll act as if I have. And without any real feeling for it, but just a wish to do it anyway, because he was so tired of being half asleep all the time, he would throw that ball around and act as if he was... It wasn't any time at all before they put him up back in the major leagues, and he became a famous player, and his nickname, Pep, was not a joke. He was so full of enthusiasm, because acting enthusiastic, he suddenly found that he had enthusiasm.
Good morning again, friends. This is such a wonderful talk by Swamiji. And I was just remembering, as Master would come up for his lectures, he was always enthusiastic, no matter what, but he would run out onto the platform. His hair would be streaming back, his robes flapping, all showing how enthusiastic he was. Then he would shout out to the audience, how feels everybody? And he would have them, this was in America, and people were very kind of quiet and conservative. And he said, and he would make them shout back, awake and ready. How is everybody? Awake and ready. And so that enthusiasm that Master had, it's a big part. Affirmation, positivity, it's a huge part of the path. I would say it would take you halfway there if you can just say yes to life. And Master, remember the story of Swamiji passing by Master, and Master asking him, well, how are you, Walter? And Swamiji said, well, sir, and he was new there. And Master said, that's good. And otherwise, we're pushing from both sides of a door. We feel good, we feel bad, we feel good, we feel bad. But if we can get our energy going in the one direction, we'll feel wonderful. And circumstances are neutral, Master said, is how we react to them that determines how they are in our lives. And the affirmations that we have as part of this path, I was thinking about it, and we have affirmations in the super conscious living exercises. I am awake and ready. I'm awake, positive, energetic, enthusiastic. Swamiji created those. Our yoga postures, Ananda Yoga, have affirmations to them. I'm calm, I am poised. Various affirmations of every pose that we have. Our chants, we have chant affirmations. From joy I came, for joy I live, joy, joy, ever new joy. There are all kinds of chants, but there are also chant affirmations. And then we use affirmations on their own, which I'll do with you today, just to get our energy. When we have a positive thought, our energy rises and we're happy. We have energy, we have enthusiasm, we have willingness. When we say no, the energy goes down. And we probably remember that story of Swami Kriyanandaji when he was feeling in a mood. And he said he just shifted his energy, he shifted his consciousness, and his energy rose. So he put his consciousness at the point between the eyebrows for 5 minutes, and his energy rose up. 5 minutes, he was feeling fine. And think of all the wonderful stories around Master's life and Swamiji's life of affirming life, affirming God, affirming joy. There was one story, a Master, where he was trying to buy Mount Washington in California as the ashram, the center for the work there. And it was going to cost a lot of money then. And one of the students said, a Master knew, he walked in, he said, this place feels like ours. He had the students there before he had bought the place. This place is yours. And one person said, but how could it be? He said, it's going to take you 20 years to get that kind of money. And I love Master's answer. He said, 20 years for those who think 20 years, 3 years for those who think 3 years, and 3 months, which is how much time he had. 3 months for those who think 3 months. Did he have the place? Did he have the money in 3 months? Of course he did. But he fought for it. He said, I was battling with Divine Mother. How are you going to get me that money? But he put out the energy, he put out the will, he put out the enthusiasm. It was for God's work. And of course he got the money for it. At the last 11th hour, somebody came through with the last $5,000 that he needed. And another remarkable story was Master wanted to go on a tour throughout America, a lecture tour. And his secretary says, well, sir, you don't really have any money to go. He said, yes, I do. Divine Mother has money and she's going to give it. He was walking through the streets of San Francisco. You might have heard this just recently. And a man stopped him and said, oh, I want to sponsor your work here. I want to help sponsor your work. And now, how did he know what his work was? How did he know who he was? Master said, you don't even know who I am. And the Master said, yes, I do, from your eyes. Meaning he had the eyes of God. He had the eyes of peace. He had the eyes of joy. He had the eyes of enthusiasm and willingness. And that man wrote Master a check for $27,000. This must have been the 30s and the 40s. That was an enormous amount of money. That came because he was so magnetic. He was so enthusiastic. He was so positive. He was in God attunement, God consciousness. And then the wonderful stories of Swamiji. I mean, all you have to do is pick up any of their books. It's all about meet God halfway, think positive, lift your energy, go for it, expect a miracle. And so Swamiji, one of the temples had just burned down at Ananda. This was way back in the early years. And Swamiji, he was just lying there on his sleeping bag on the ground that night there after the fire. And then Jyotishji heard him. He said, I'm just going to go console him. He heard him just saying, when he went close to him, joy, joy. And Swamiji had been touched by Divine Mother. He said, I gave you this. If it's something I've done wrong, please tell me. And he said he felt so overwhelmed with joy because it was God's blessing him in his heart. The next day he went to the local store grocery store, and he was singing. And the lady there who was owner of the store said, "Oh my God, how could you be singing? Didn't your temple burn down yesterday?" He said, "Yes, I lost my temple. I didn't lose my voice." Now, this is the point. Think about what you've lost. You haven't lost God. You haven't lost his presence. You haven't lost the blessings. You haven't lost the grace unless you shut the door. And then another time, the last story I'll tell is Swamiji was a group of people that were going up skiing up near Lake Tahoe and near Ananda. And so they were going there and the car starts spinning because the tires were bald in the snow. And then he hit a bus. John Swamiji was driving way back when, many, many years back, the early years of Ananda. The car hit the bus. The car was totaled. They had to get the car towed away. The bus, he said there was no scratch on the bus even. And then what Devi Ji said, I love the way she tells this story. After they fixed everything, got everything settled with the car, Swamiji says, "Look, that bus is going just where we want to go. Let's get on the bus." So they get on the bus. Other people would have been standing on the side of the road crying, weeping. He said, "Let's get on the bus." So they get on the bus and somebody said, "Isn't that your car?" I love that story. He said, "Yeah." And they said, "Aren't you sad about your car?" And he said, "I would be happy in 2 weeks. How come I can't be happy right now?" And you see, he lived by that challenge in his life to be happy under all circumstances. And it's not always easy. Sometimes you have to affirm it. I remember when Swamiji wrote that chant, "I want only thee, Lord." And you all surely have heard it. And I went, "Oh God, I want lots of things." And most people, we were all young and wild. We want lots of things. And Swamiji said, just affirm it. Affirm it. At a certain point, it will be your reality. So affirm it, affirm it. And to keep your energy high, I was listening to a talk by Dr. Peter Van Houten, who's our medical physician at Ananda Village. And he said a lot of people during this time are getting depressed, a lot of people. And people are going, for help and therapy. So he gave a couple of suggestions. He said, keep your sadhana strong, get out in the sun, to keep your energy up, energize your body, and exercise. And if you do those things, you will find that it's easier to keep your energy up and to keep positive. Now, I want to close this section with an affirmation. Let's have it on the screen. It's a beautiful affirmation by Paramahansa Yogananda Ji. Let's inhale and tense our bodies. Strong, powerful vibration. Exhale, relax your body. Bring in God's power into your whole being. Exhale once more. Double breath in. Detoxify, sending the air out. Now, say this affirmation. Let me say it first and we'll say it together. I will, with my own will, which flows from the divine will, to be happy, to be well, to be prosperous and spiritual, to be well, to be well. Let's say this together. Repeat. You can repeat a line after me. I will, with my own will. I will, with my own will, which flows from the divine will, which flows from the divine will, to be happy, to be well, to be happy, to be well, to be prosperous and spiritual, to be well, to be well. And we say the affirmation loud to shake up the conscious mind and wake it up. Then we take it more softly into the subconscious mind. Then we bring it up in a whisper to the superconscious mind. So let's say it a little more softly now. I will, with my own will. I will, with my own will, which flows from the divine will, to be happy, to be well, to be prosperous, to be spiritual, to be well, to be well. Now whispering, gaze up at the spiritual eye. I will, with my own will, which flows from the divine will. To be happy, to be well, to be prosperous, to be spiritual, to be well, to be well. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We have a few questions that we'll go into now. I've asked Natendra to join and ask those questions.
Thank you, Dhyanashi. So the first question is, what if I don't feel anything? Should I still affirm?
Yes, I think I answered that. Just do the best you can and realize that there are many forces for you. There are many forces against you. You have to have a strong will yourself. Do these affirmations, do the energization, superconscious living exercises, yoga postures, chanting, meditation. Do all you can. And then allow God's grace like a wave. Like that wave is God's grace, and you're just going on top of that wave. But if you do nothing and say, I don't feel anything, I'm not going to affirm anything, and I'm going to just have God do it all for me, I've never found that that works. And so put your energy out. Get up off the couch, get moving. Take a walk, get out in the air, breathe. And you're going to feel, wow, I feel better. And then bring in the affirmations. Okay, next one.
Next is, how do I get my mind to say yes when it always wants to say no? How can I turn that around?
Yeah, that's important. Now, you have to be in good company. Now, how can you be in good company? Coming to the satsangs. How can you be in good company? If you're Kriya monk, coming to the Kriya and Yoga initiations. How can you be in good company? Reading the spiritual books, that 150 that Swamiji wrote, all masters' teachings. That's how you can be in good company. How can you be in good company? Look at this beautiful altar. Create an altar in your house or freshen up your altar. Sit there, talk to the masters. Tell them how much you appreciate and how grateful you are, how much you love them. How can you be in good company? Change your thoughts. Put on the music of Swamiji. Put on the chanting. Get a harmonium. Get a guitar. Get a tanpura. Anything. You got to fight against the darkness. Anybody who's weak would just be just like a tiny tree, and a strong wind comes, whap, it just goes down. Whereas a strong tree may get moved, but it's not going to be hit down. And so keep good company. All these things will help you to keep good company. And you can fight the battle of life. You have the tools, you have the teachings, it's up to you.
Thank
the
you.
next one.
Yeah. And people can ask questions on chat as well. The
Yeah.
next question is, people around me aren't positive and that drags me down. What can I do about it?
I think I answered that. But be with like-minded people. Be with us. We're here for you. And I bet every day on Ananda worldwide, there's something, at least 2 or 3 things going on every day now online. So please join us.
Next is mostly around what is happening this time. So the world around us is so negative. so many bad things are happening right now. How can one be positive in the midst of so much of darkness? And do the thoughts of people around me, will they also affect me?
Yeah, I think I've answered that, have I not? How can
Yeah, yeah.
in the midst of darkness, there's always something lurking. That's what I found. But if I keep my aura strong, then it can't penetrate. But there's always something, some health thing. Like Swamiji said that he felt a cold coming on. And the other day I felt something trying to grab me like that. And when Swamiji said he felt it coming on, he just said, "Get out!" And that's what I did too. I just said, "I don't have time, get out." And so you have to be strong. You can't be a weakling. You won't make it. So put out the will and energy, and then the power of these gurus. Wow. They're going to push you through any darkness. That light cannot penetrate. Master told people in Africa, Swamiji, who were having problems with hexes put on them, dark forces. He said, put the pictures of the gurus all around your house. What a great thing to do. Put the pictures of the gurus. They're emanating light. So put them around and they will help you.
Thank you, Dhyanaji. We have a couple of live questions.
That's good.
The first one is, how do I enjoy as I have lost interest all activities which I considered to be fun earlier, maybe for the right reason, but then I feel that life is becoming boring at times.
What's the last part? Life is what?
I feel that life is becoming boring at times.
Cha, boring. Oh, wow. Okay, so it is boring if you don't put out energy. It's boring if you watch television a lot. I'll tell you that. It gets very boring. It's boring if you read the news all the time and that's all you know. So you have a little world of TV and news. It gets very boring. Step out. Be with your spiritual friends. Be with people who have high energy. Be with people who are positive. Be with people who are attuned to God. Be with people who are successful. Be with people who are prosperous. Get some different friends. You've got lots of thousands of guru bhais around the world. So, and if you can't do that, be with them in this way. Get these books. Read something every day. Get the talks of Swamiji. Listen to him every day. And then every day do something you think you couldn't do. You thought you couldn't do. Just test yourself, challenge, challenge, challenge. I remember a wonderful thing Swamiji told me. He was just finishing one visit here in India, one of his last visits. We were driving him to the airport and he said, I was in the back seat and I was thinking, oh, thank God everything went smoothly on this trip. And Swamiji said, Dhyana? I said, yes, sir. And he says, why don't you learn the Hindi script? And I went, why? And I went, and he said, why not? I said, all right, Swamiji. And I worked on it, and my first word or name was Babaji. I wrote that out and I was so proud. But I've been working on Hindi for all these years, and I've been able to give Hindi in Kriya in Hindi twice. Now, the second time was better than the first. And there were lots of notes and lots of memorization, but was that a challenge? One of my biggest challenges in my life to give Kriya in Hindi. My goodness, even now I'd have to study for 2 months to get back to that point. So don't think that you can't do it. Challenge yourself. It's something you think you can't do, and do it. Step by step, do it. I can take a couple more.
Okay, Dhyanaji. So one is how to deal with family members that are negative and materialistic, and there is familiar pressure on us to be with them. What is my dharma around them?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, this is your spiritual family. These never change. The relatives in this life and the next life and the next and the past, they've all been different. Your parents have been different. Your guru's ever the same. So let's not get confused. Remember what Master said to his guru, Swami Shriktes, to his parent who was talking against his guru. He said, I'll disown you. I'll disown you. You speak against my guru again? And so he never spoke against his guru again. But you have to feel what works within your household, but be strong in yourself. And people say, well, why are you meditating? There's something they like to do, play golf or go play badminton, or there's something, would you tell them, don't go play golf? Let you meditate. And what happened with me is my mother got completely changed by Master. It took 12 years, but I just said, no, I'm not leaving Ananda. No, Ananda's my home. And why don't you come back? I said, no, I'm not going to do it, period. And then Swamiji came and gave a talk in Los Angeles. I brought my mother, this is where I was born and raised. I brought my mother to the talk, and Swamiji, someone else was speaking, and Swamiji comes in late, and he sits where? In the back row next to me and my mother. I just loved it. She never met him before. And after the talk, he stands up, and all these years, she went, who is that man? And why are you going there? And what is that strange place? And all those hippie people. And so Swamiji stands up, he looks at my mother. I loved it. He says, hello, I'm Swami Kriyananda. my mother looks at him, and the first words she says were, I'm on the path too. And Swamiji says, I know you are. I was in bliss. I couldn't believe it. And afterwards, my mother told me, stay on the path because I'm right behind you. Now you have to figure it out with your family. But what I did was pray, 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 and pray that I'd be able to be on my path. And now I've been in India almost 16 years. My family's in America. When am I going to see them? I don't know. But Master allowed me to get here and serve and do my Dharma. So pray that you're able to do your Dharma, let him take care. Everybody in my family is absolutely well, has been well since I've been on the path. So think about it. Put God first and ask him. Pray to him. Pray to Master to make the situation work in your family. Okay, I can take one more and then I'll have to go.
Sure, Dhyanaji. So the last one we can take is, did Swamiji and Master give any advice for students whose exams are approaching for doing well?
Oh, that's such a good one, isn't it? Well, in Autobiography of a Yogi, Master had his exams. He didn't like school. Swamiji didn't like school either. Neither one of them wanted to go to school. But God helped them. And Master's guru helped him to graduate. And then that college, I hope you read that chapter. And then somehow the college that was right near the ashram was giving the degree that Master wanted to get. And so these are miraculous stories. But what I would say that they said was, go to a higher level than the school and the teacher and the principal. Go to Divine Mother and do your studies. Don't not do your studies. I mean, my first quarter of college, I was at an F, but I took that up immediately. I put my whole heart into it. And then I came out a C with that course. But do your part and then pray to God and gurus. All I know is what they've written in their books about how they were able to make the grade and finally get out of school. Have most of those been answered, Natindra, the other ones? More or less?
Yes, Dhyanaji. Yeah.
What'd you say?
There's one on health that we didn't touch about. Would you want to take that?
Sure.
I've heard that your health is affected by your thinking. Is that true? I find myself getting ill a lot. And does this have to do with my thoughts?
Definitely. Your health follows how you think. And if you can eat better, if you can eat more fresh foods, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, get rid of those heavy, salty foods, all those. I mean, India has a lot of sweets. I hate to be the one to tell you, but there's a lot of sweets that are eaten here. Cut back on the sweets, and you will find that, like have an apple. I know nobody wants to eat an apple, but have an apple or have some papita or have some kiwi or have something else besides a load of sugar. Sugar itself gives you a hype and then boom, you just go right down. And sugary drinks, Coca-Cola, all these things, are just all sugar, sugar. You just don't feel so good. You have to go take a nap afterwards. You don't sleep well at night. And so, yes, your diet has a lot to do with it. But here, step by step, work on your diet. All of Master's teachings talk about diet. Fasting will cleanse you. If you can do a 1 day on orange juice, 3 days on orange juice, Master gave those fasts. And by the way, I'll tie that into this other question that's there on the person who has the nightmares that can't sleep well and feels a dark energy around. That also has something to do with your diet. Also, don't fall asleep watching television. Watch out for your mental diet. If you're watching a horror movie and then you go to sleep on the horror movie, and the horror movie, it just continues in the dream state, honestly. But you can also, Master said, if you're having bad dreams and all, write Om on your pillow at night before you put your head on it. Have a picture. This is what I'm saying now. Have a picture of Master or Swamiji near your bed. Sometimes I slept with the picture of Master under my pillow. Sometimes I was holding that picture a good part of the night because of various things going on in my life. And so use the tools. As you do, you find they work miraculously. Use the tools, put your will in. The grace of the gurus is like a recipe. You're baking a cake. You put everything in right, put it in the oven, get that wonderful cake out. And so do these things and you will find that you become more affirmative, more happy, more joyful, more positive. Then you can help other people, your family members, your co-workers, your vibrations just go out to everybody. Otherwise, their vibrations, that's the point, their vibrations are affecting you. So God bless you all, and we'll see you again soon.
Oh.